Hi, Orange Girl here with another scrapbooking process video for you. I am working with a file from the Cut Shop today. I'm actually working with the Mugshot and Latte Love files that are on this JavaScript cut file, and it's all about Java today. So I found these two cards in my Christmas click kit, and I decided I would go with like a kind of grid design like this, and then I wanted to use journaling around the outside there where I was just pointing. So what I did is I set it up in my Cameo software, and I had my silhouette go ahead and journal using a pen. And after that, while I was in there, I decided I would go ahead and put holes in there using my silhouette Cameo so that I could stitch around the word mugshot. So I did that all off camera. So there is the stitching. That probably took me the longest of this whole entire process. So the other thing that I did off camera is I went ahead and cut those two cards so that they were about 3 by 3, just like the photograph. And then I pulled out, it's old, like a year, probably 2 years old. It's an Elle Studio collection that was a Christmas collection, and it had a lot of red in it. And so I pulled that out thinking, the mug shot here is of the Christmas um, cups from um, Starbucks, and there's three of them because of the story, which I'll tell you in just a second. And I don't usually take shots like this because I don't usually do Starbucks. But anyway, so I thought since it kind of had a Christmas theme a little bit or a holiday theme, I'd grab some old holiday papers that I had or holiday collection, and I'd use what I found in there. So I'm going to go ahead and back my photo with tissue paper. And to be honest, I'm doing that because I'm stuck right now. So when I'm stuck, and you maybe have heard this in videos before, when I'm stuck and I'm not sure what to do next, I just go ahead and start doing things I know that I am going to do, like back this with some tissue paper and then go ahead and pop it up off the page using some foam adhesive. And I knew as I was looking through the collection that I really liked this banner, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. And what I'm trying to decide is how or if I'm going to use that oh, what's it called? Like a coffee, the sleeve from the coffee. I saved it thinking I might use it like in my December daily album or something like that. Even though this photograph was actually taken a couple days after Thanksgiving, I thought I might still use it. But then when I saw those cards, I thought, oh, I'm just going to go ahead and just make a layout. And then so I went in and looked in the cut shop to see if I could find some cut files that might work with it. And so I got this cut file, the JavaScript, and went ahead and grabbed a couple cut files off there, and the rest is history, right? So now I'm trying to decide, because here it all started because I saw those two right there, those two cards. And then I'm debating whether or not I don't even use the card at all so that I can add that sleeve or whatever. But so I'm just kind of going back and forth, and I'm still kind of stuck as to what I'm going to do. But you'll see what I end up doing. So about the story. So what happened was every year, the day after Thanksgiving, we go to Rockford, Illinois, and visit with our friends. And B's best little friend lives there, and we're friends with the family as well. And so we go there because there is a concert that is done that day, the day after Thanksgiving, and then we stay a day or two and then come home. So we're tired because we always stay up way too late because we love these people, and we just stay up late and talk and don't get enough sleep, and we might have beverages as well, and so of the adult variety. And so the next day, this is the day that we're going to drive home, and we have decided that we want to give the girls a little bit more time together, so we go to this arcade. But for the adults, the three adults that are there, to get through the arcade fiasco, we decided that we needed Starbucks. So we drove through the Starbucks, and then when we got to the arcade, my friends, my friend and my one true love, humored me and let me take this photograph. And so that's kind of what the journaling is about. It says, the last day of our Rockford, Illinois trip, and we were all tired. We spent the weekend listening to good music and playing with our Rockford friends, the Workles. Our last stop was an arcade for the girls to play and spend time together before we departed, but the adults needed coffee to survive an arcade. Since the holiday season had officially started, I had to grab a quick pic of our red cups. Charlie and Sarah humored me. I got the photo and we all got the caffeine. I'm glad for good friends and fun. So, you saw there that what I decided to end up doing was going ahead and just cutting that sleeve so that I could use it. So I ended up sacrificing one of the cards. I don't use the one that says it's red cup season again. I just use the picture of the red cup. And then now I'm just adding all the little bits that I have gathered as I've gone along and looked for things that are coffee related in my stash. What I'm doing now is I'm going ahead and I'm using two different colors of thread. I'm using two colors of pink, a light pink and then a little bit darker pink, and I'm putting them together, and you'll see in the close-ups how that looks. I like the way that it looks because it makes it all look like it's a little bit darker. It just looks a little bit better than the light pink by itself. So let's see, I added the tag that's from the ephemera pack, and then that other flag is from the ephemera pack. I added some papers. You saw that a lot of those papers were already cut because they were just in my stash and they were things left over from what I had used in previous layouts. Probably 2 years ago, I'm thinking this collection was from. The other thing right up there that I'm kind of messing with now is a piece of wood veneer, and that comes from Color Cast Designs, and you'll be able to see all of that in the close-ups here in a minute. So I'm going ahead and I'm just putting thread behind each little area. When I do a grid design, kind of one of the things I try to do is I think about, what colors I'm going to use. And I really wanted to use that pink flare because I hardly ever, honestly, I hardly ever do any sort of layouts about coffee or anything else, even though coffee is big in my life. And so what I try to do is I try to add 2 or 3 different colors, and I try to make them all represented in each of the squares. And so I know I want to put a little something up there in the top right corner, and I wanted it to be some of that kind of wood grain color. And so I chopped the edge off the tag that is hidden behind and then made myself a new tag. And I toyed with the idea of adding a little bit more of the cup sleeve up there, but I ended up deciding that I was just going to go ahead and use that tag, and it worked out really well. So what I'm doing now is I've decided that I'm going to create a border around the outside using that red paper. And then I want to stitch, and it's kind of hard to stitch using my machine when I have kind of bulkier items on my layout. So like all of this stuff. So what I'm doing is I'm going through each of the squares, and I am going ahead and gluing it to itself so that I can move it off the page to do my stitching and then move it back on and glue it down, because I know this is kind of how I want it to be. So as I'm going through, I am just gluing that whatever I have together. So like in this case, the thread and then the papers together, and then little couple staples just for good looks. They're not really functional, although they do hold it together, but that's not why I did it. And then adding everything just little bit by little bit, going around to each of the squares and making sure that I have a little bit of pink, a little bit of red, a little bit of black, and then some sort of wood grain. And so I get the wood grain either through wood grain paper or through the brown of the sleeve or that little piece of wood veneer. So that's kind of, I'm trying to make all of those areas have all representation from all of the colors. Okay, so that one I wasn't sure what to do there with the string. And so I'm just going to put it aside and put it on top for now because that's going to go actually glue right down onto my white background paper. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to move all that stuff off, and then off camera I'm going to stitch it all down. Oh, but I decided to do this first. I might as well glue down where it says mugshot, but I wanted to add a few more pops of color there. So I'm using this pink paper behind the hearts and behind the O in shot. And then a little bit more wood grain paper to represent the actual coffee. So you'll see how that works here in a minute. So all I'm doing is cutting little pieces and then using glue to glue them. So here I cut the wrong color. Duh. um, so I'm just trying to represent the colors and add little pops of color all the way through here. So that's all I'm doing for that. And so then off camera, the other thing that I'm kind of thinking about with this is I put everything off center because I was thinking I was just going to have that red paper go across the top and across the side because I have used a lot of that paper already for my December daily. I cut out 2 Traveler's Notebooks pages from that paper already. And so since I've already done that, I only have 2 sides, but I solved that problem and you will see that in just a second. Just like I solved the problem of not having wood grain paper for my tag, and then I solved it again, not having it for my coffee there. I used that same tag and cut a little bit more off. I don't know if you saw that happen, but that's what I did. Okay, so now off camera, I'm going to do some stitching here. Excuse me. So sorry. It's that time of year where there's lots of allergy things happening, and I'm just fighting a little bit of a cold. So anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the strip off here, and then I'm going to glue that behind. But I like this. It's okay. But then I thought, well, maybe I don't want that. I mean, I like all that white space over there because I'm going to put some things on it, but maybe I want it to be this way, like my original vision just wasn't working for me. So then I decided it would probably be best if it had red all the way around it. And I was just going to use red thread all the way around it. But then I solved the problem because check this out. I just cut a little bit off and then voila, look at that. It worked. So off camera here, I'm going to glue that down and then stitch. You can see I've done my stitching now. I stitched right through that tag and added a little bit of black twine there, and I'm going to do that here on this side with this one. And now I'm just going to glue everything down. So I'm going to speed this up really quickly because all I'm doing is gluing down those squares that I've already taken care of. Use my T-square here so that I can try to get it as straight as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm using ripped paper. Wonky stitching. It's not like I want it to be absolutely perfect, but I want to give the illusion of straightness at least. So it's mostly straight with that words mugshot. So when I did this, I just decided that I thought that that bottom right square just wasn't quite enough layers. I'm adding a little glue here so that the strings stay in place. And so I end up pulling that up and adding a little tissue to it. I think it looks good because it just adds another little layer. It makes it just a skosh bigger because it was smaller than the other squares. And then also it kind of ties in with the one that is underneath the actual photograph. So getting it all straightened up. Then my last thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a few pieces of enamel dots from this. This is also from that Elle Studio older collection, and I'm going to add some hearts and then some little circles throughout, and I'm just kind of trying to make little clusters. I knew I wanted a little bit of color up there with that wood grain tag or partial tag, and then I just wanted to add a little bit more here and there just to add, well, I love enamel outs because they just really add some pops of color. I toyed with the idea of adding some splatters of paint, but then I just kind of decided I like the way it looked a little bit cleaner. It's not a clean layout. Some people who do clean layouts would laugh that I called this clean, but it's clean for me. Even though it's got, the ripped paper and all the thread and all of that. So the other thing that came in with this collection is some, what's that called? Washi tape. This is all washi. And so I'm just gonna, there was a little black it says magical moments. That's what it says. Piece of washi there. So I thought, oh, that goes perfectly on that tag. So then it adds a little bit of something up there, a little bit more interest. And I toyed with the idea of adding some other things. And then I decided, you know what? I think it's done. And so there is what it looks like. And here is a close-up of one of the cut files and that color cast element. And then here's some more, the other cut file. And then some layers here. And then here comes the flare from A Flair for Buttons. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I will see you in my next video.